Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Pretty exciting video. We've got 3 legendary champion coming our way. We've got this new ASGARD Divide event that's going on, basically starting in 6 days time. I've got a bit of a preview of everything that's coming, including these 4 new legendary champions that are going to be added into Raid. The one we're going to get for free, a new boss event as well. Actually, sounds like a super fun event. And also, something to call out at this point, this is not like a collaboration like Monster Hunter where, you know, they've taken an IP that already exists and therefore there's a contract that says you cannot reuse these characters ever again. This is Raid's interpretation of these characters, I believe. I don't think ASGARD Divide is a thing. I think it's something that Raid have made up, which means that there should be the ability to gain any of these heroes, these champs, going forward as well. So it's definitely this kind of like ASGARD. You know, if any of you have watched Marvel, you will know these characters really well. If any of you really have lived for more than a few years, you will probably know these characters really, really well, which is cool. So they've actually taken some stuff which seems really cool. I'd imagine, you know, if I was thinking about a game that I might like to design, I would probably go down that kind of like gods, myths, you know, legends type of route as well. So this is really interesting. Anyway, let's get into what is going down. Right then, let's start with a bit of the lore that they're doing behind the event. So pump this up. Loki's long-term goal is to bring about the total removal of the gods' involvement in Teleria. And if that means their destruction, so be it. He sees unfreezing the waters of life as an event that can upset the balance of power in Teleria and force the intervention of the gods in such a way that they can be destroyed together or destroy one another. As part of the long-term plan, which has many stages, he seeks to free the Fire Knight from Exile's End in the Mountains of Despair. Interesting. So there must be some sort of link here. Freya, with her powers of foresight, sees what Loki is attempting, and it is a host of Sephiroth-aligned dwarves joining him. Freya takes this knowledge to Odin, who decrees that Loki must be stopped. The fate of the Red Spikes believes Loki's actions could bring about terrible devastation of Teleria, if not complete destruction. Odin tells Thor it's his duty to stop Loki. Of course, Thor gets involved, but he is nonetheless torn, for him and Loki were once close friends. Or brothers, right? He doesn't know if he can stop Loki without hurting him or worse. Our players then join the story as Thor has set off on his quest to stop Loki, while Loki is on his way to free the Fire Knight. Meanwhile, Freya and Odin plot in Asgard to see how they can bring a stop to Loki's plans. Okay, they've got a bit of story going on here. I don't know how much that's going to be represented in the event, but I guess we'll see. Let's have a quick look at the character kind of like turntables here. So this is Freya. They've got their own kind of like Norse background, but I do believe they're going to be barbarians. I might find it out in a second, actually. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool design. I do like that shield, actually. Look at that shield. Raid always killing it with the visuals. I like the kind of like power emanating from the shield. Obviously, you've got all this kind of like Nordic design on the cloak and stuff. Okay, so that's Freya. Let's have a look at Odin. Yes. Nice Odin. Very cool. Very cool. Loads of little kind of like call outs to his mythology. Damn, actually, it looks badass. Okay, let's look at Thor. It's hard with Thor, right, to not just want to see Chris Hemsworth standing there. What's this on his back? So he's got like the ice giant head on his back. That's actually pretty sweet as well. The hammer's got a nice visual effects on it. Look at this. Yeah, pretty cool. And then we've got Loki. Loki the Deceiver. I'd say compared to the others, he seems a bit understated actually, but I like the kind of like the little mask there. Again, they've got all of the kind of designs which makes some sense. I guess the design does make some sense. He's got his curvy dagger. His snake staff, which is a call out to his mythology as well. Okay, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. Right, let's get into the events. I guess The first thing is Loki is going to be a free login champion. So like we've had with many in the past now, you know, like your Wukongs and Artax and stuff like that, Loki is going to be a freebie. We've got his kit here, and it's literally just going to be a 7-day login event. So no matter what happens for the rest of the events in this whole kind of like setup, you're going to get yourself a free legendary champion. He's a barbarian as far as I know. Oh yeah, here you go. Barbarian, support character, and yeah, he's going to be a spirit affinity dude. Loki the Deceiver. Right. So what's going on? A1, Flames of Mischief here. Attacks all enemies, which is always kind of juicy on an A1. It's pretty rare on an A1. 30%, books up to 50% chance of increasing the duration of enemy debuffs by a turn. On an A1, on an AoE. Wow. That's actually massive. It's actually a massive A1. 50% chance of increasing all enemy debuffs. Again, like quite often when we see these, that would be amazing for Hydra, for sure. If this champion is under Veil or Perfect Veil, increases the chance to 50%, so books to 70. You've got the A2 then, Deceiver's Gambit. On a 4-turn, books down to 3. Selects a target. If the target is an enemy, okay, a target, so it can be your teammate as well. If the target is an enemy, books to 100% chance of placing block active skills and block buffs on them for 2 turns. So block active skills, you're basically making sure that the enemy's just going to do their A1 abilities. That's more of a PvP skill, in all honesty. If the champion using this skill is under Veil or Perfect Veil, also applies debuff spread, taking 2 random debuffs and placing them on all enemies. So you're going to be able to block out all enemy skills and put block buffs on them. I was actually chatting to Nubs. This ability here is pretty much the counter to Mythicals, because you can't do your Metamorph if you've got block active skills on. So specifically, that is pretty nuts in like arena metas now where Mythicals are starting to pop up a lot. If the target is an ally or this champion, heals them by 50% of this champion's max HP and puts a Perfect Veil on them for 2 turns. If this champion's under Perfect Veil, also does a buff spread, taking a random buff from the target and placing it on all allies. It's a pretty juicy A2. Block active skills is no joke, but it's definitely like a PvP skill. And then we've got Bandit Flash here for the A3. So 5-turn books to 4. Books to 100% chance of stealing all buffs from a target and 100% of their turn meter. And it cannot be resisted if under Veil or Perfect Veil. If the target's turn meter was not stolen, fills turn meter of allies instead. So I guess that's basically saying if you're fighting a boss where you just can't steal turn meter, then this becomes a turn meter buff instead. And puts increased attack on allies. So yeah, again, if you're in that boss situation, then you've got turn meter boost and increased attack for your team to do more damage. So it's actually quite good to have a second mechanic in there. Weirdly for this type of thing, I don't love it because so this skill needs no accuracy if you've got the Veil or Perfect Veil, but the block active skills definitely does need accuracy. So I don't love it when they kind of mix the two things. But anyway, again, pretty decent A3. Pretty decent. So we've then got the passive here, Mist Step. 4-turn cooldown on it. So the effect places Perfect Veil on this champion for 2 turns at the start of a round. If you think about the start of a round, that's like every time you go into a new wave of enemies, that's a new round. But if you're fighting Hydra, there's only ever 1 round, as an example. So versus waves of enemies, you're constantly getting that Perfect Veil back, and all of these skills are enhanced. Also places Perfect Veil on this champion for 1 turn whenever their HP drops below 50%. That's pretty cool, actually. So therefore, you do have ways to get the Perfect Veil back again. 15% chance to evade. Evade an enemy skill and all of its accompanying effects. This is new. Evade's not been a thing. If he's under Perfect Veil, 30% chance to evade. So if you've got Armand's coming at you with like a stun effect, 30% chance you just dodge it. He's the deceiver. He just gets out of the way. That's quite interesting. And then the active effect here. So this is what the 4-turn cooldown's about. If this champion's HP drops below 50%, when targeted by an enemy skill, 100% chance to evade that skill and all of its effects. This guaranteed evade then goes on cooldown, but then you still got the 30% chance after that to evade generally. I mean, Raid love a bit of PvP RNG. A 30% chance just to dodge a skill is going to be frustrating. It's just, I like the 100% chance when this happens. It's like, and then it goes on cooldown. The 30% chance, people will be like, oh, this is cool. It gives us a chance against this thing. It will be frustrating. I'll tell you that much. I can imagine Big Papa Drock doing videos talking about how pissed off he is with evade before long, especially if they add it to other champs in the game. Anyway, got accuracy in all battles. So this is the freebie. Good A1, pretty decent A2, although it's PvP focused. Pretty decent A3, which is going to help you through certain bosses where you're trying to get their turn meter down. Certainly if you've got a 100% chance to do it and they can't be resisted. And then the buff still in arena is pretty useful. I'm not going to say I think this is like a top tier champ, because I don't think it is. I think it's going to be kind of a bit like that Ultimate Death Knight, that Wukong, where situationally it's extremely good. And I do think it might be like this kind of like counter to some mythical champs in the right team comps, but don't think it's going to be like top tier in PvE content as far as I'm seeing. Okay, so we've got the champ game info here. You've got all of them barbarians, yeah, as we thought. So barbarians, you've got Loki is spirit affinity as a support. You've got Thor is a magic affinity attack based. Freya is a force affinity defense based. So I guess following the kind of like Valkyrie theme, and you know, obviously Valk and what have you in the faction. And then you've got Odin is a void support based. And I've just got I'll take a quick screenshot of this. So the Loki event starts from the 21st of August. So during the event, users will have a chance to obtain Loki on a doing the 14-day thing again. I like this. So 14-day program. The first 7 gets you the champ and some gear. And then the second 7 gets you a few bits and bobs. And then like a level 2 soul, 2-star soul, which is quite cool. I like this. Getting a soul for a hero, especially if it's someone who is, you know, if you're a newer player, having that legendary with a soul does make a massive difference to your ability to progress with stuff. So this is pretty cool. So you claim the champion day 7. Additionally, after collecting the champ, players will be able to share a post on Facebook or Twitter and get some extra stuff as well. Okay. And basically you've got until 24th of October to be involved, and then this will all like close down on the 22nd of November. So this part is something I really liked. I don't know if you guys saw the video from the test server where I spoke about a new dungeon that was dropping. This is it. They're actually doing an event dungeon. I've spoken to some of the raid devs actually twice now over this kind of like annual, tell us what you think of the game. What's the current state of the game feel like? All that type of stuff. And one of the things I said was, you've got these great legendary assets for events. Why don't you use them as like alternative boss encounters? And it looks like that's what they're going to be doing here. So Odin in this event for this period of time, from the 21st to the 24th, 21st of August to the 24th of October, is going to be this new boss type dungeon. And it looks like, I'm not entirely sure what's going down, but this is, what's his name? The dude that needs a buff from the Sylvan Watchers. Can't think what his name is. Anyway, these are all obviously, looks like got Arbiter back here, I think. Or is that Freya? Might be actually be Freya. Yeah, these are all game characters. This is a Boru here. I guess it's just aesthetic in the background and not relevant to what's going on. But also it might be something to do with the dungeon mechanic. I might be wrong. It could be something to do with the dungeon mechanic and they become part of the enemies that you've got to face in some way. But pretty interesting. And the visual of this obviously looks cool. So looks like we're going to be fighting Odin. It says here, the event dungeon is a brand new game mechanic aiming at diversifying the player's experience. The event dungeon will be available only during the ASGARD Divide campaign. and Odin will be the dungeon boss. 30 stages of normal difficulty, with difficulty rising for each stage. There will be no waves, only a boss. But beware, as Odin won't be aligned, but joined by mighty warriors for each, unique warriors for each stage of the dungeon. Yeah, that's cool, actually. This, I'm all for. If you're going to give us an event, give us an event. Yeah, don't just say go and farm Dragon for another 20 runs. This is awesome. Well done, Raid Shadow Legends. Double thumbs up. This is awesome. This is a great way to do it. Really like that. Okay, so that's about all the information I've got. I do not know how we might be able to get these other champions, but I can guess. There will be things like summoning events. There will probably be, you know, champion training events where the first person for a competition gets themselves, I don't know, like a Thor. I might get test server access to try out these champs. I don't know, but definitely, yeah, definitely a cool event. And the fact that this is Raid own art, they're not gone to like Marvel and said, can we introduce your specific versions of Thor and everybody? It does mean that they should just be able to have these champions, a bit like Ultimate Death Knight, just in the pool. But again, I don't know the details on that yet. Anyway, that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the free legendary Loki and where you might use him. And I will see you in the next one.